Harold and the Purple Crayon. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon to go for a walk in the moonlight. And he needed something to walk on. He made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost. And he set off for his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on this long, straight path, so he left the path for a shortcut across the field, and the moon went with him. The shortcut led to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree. And it turned out that this one tree was an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they turned red. So he put a frightening dragon to protect it. It was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold, and he backed away. With his purple crayon in his hand, suddenly he realized what was happening. By the time Harold was over his head in the ocean, he came up thinking fast, and in no time at all, he was able to climb aboard a little boat. He quickly set sail, and the moon went along with him. After he sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped off the shore onto the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made Harold hungry. So he laid out his simple picnic lunch. There was nothing but pie, but there were all of the 9 pies that Harold liked best. When he was finished with his lunch, there was quite a lot left. He hated to have so much delicious pie go to waste. So Harold left some for a very hungry moose. And a very deserving porcupine. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher he went, the further he could see. So he decided to make the hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired, and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom from the very top of the mountain. But as he looked down over the side, he slipped, and there wasn't anything on the other side. But luckily, he kept his wits about him and his purple crayon. He made a balloon, and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket in the balloon that was big enough for him to stand in. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't see his house, so he decided to make a house. And when he made his house, he made lots of windows. And he landed his balloon on the grass right in the front yard. But none of the windows was his window. He tried to think of where his window ought to be. He made some more windows. He made a building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. Soon he had a whole city full of buildings with windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think of where his window might be. So he decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed in the direction that Harold was already planning to go. And he walked along the moon, wishing he could find his bedroom window. Then, suddenly, Harold remembered something. He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. So Harold climbed in the window, and then he made his bed, and he pulled up the covers. The purple crayon dropped to the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep.